Dacus is a singer-songwriter who is also a part of the little indie group Boy Genius. They have all individually seen quite a lot of success over the past few years. More so than when they first came around. I think their debut albums were kind of like, setting the scene for who they were as artists. But I think each album since all their debuts, they've actually gained a lot more success critically and commercially to an extent. Phoebe being the obvious one who has seen the most success with, SNL performances and Grammy nominations and all that kind of stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't long before, Lucy or Julian start to gain a bit of this success as well. Unfortunately for me, I've not been totally on board with Lucy so far. Unfortunately, I do think she represents a broad issue that I have with a lot of indie singer-songwriters at the moment, particularly like post-2010s pitchfork kind of artists. And I don't mean that they make music for Pitchfork. I'm not saying anything like that. I'm just saying Pitchfork tend to kind of like uphold these artists. They get propped up by Pitchfork as really amazing writers, amazing singers. But for me, actually, a lot of them tend to have a problem of just being a bit bland as vocalists. I'm not trying to paint everyone with the same brush, but I do feel like particularly Lucy just doesn't have much of a presence as a singer. I don't think many people seem to agree with me though, because a lot of people love her voice, but I really do struggle to keep engaged by her as a singer. There's just this trend, I feel, of these kinds of artists doing a very dreary, monotonous, kind of like expressionless like vocal tone that just fades so far into the background, like so far into the background. I've seen support acts like this at gigs as well in the past where they're just kind of doing a really standard guitar chord. They're singing about generally sad things, not to kind of like take their experience away from them, but usually the lyrics just don't have any uniqueness to them, and this is essentially this album, I think. The opening track, Hot and Heavy, is pretty pleasant. I do actually think the melody on this one is one of the standout ones. I think, the drumming is pretty solid here too. There's nothing really that stand out with the vocals on this one. I'm probably going to say that on a lot of these tracks anyway, but I think it kind of gets the job done. You know what I mean? It's a solid track, solid little indie poppy rock track that gets the job done and isn't, anything that I've never heard before, but I think it's okay. Pretty cliche lyrics that pop up though, about the person being a flame, and then the whole fire that can't be tamed thing. Yeah, a few of those pop up across this album and across this song, but it's okay. From there though, I feel like the blandness drenches the album. Christine is the perfect example of that. Just a very slow moving song, incredibly sluggish and incredibly muddy, and yeah, there's just so little to pick out as a positive here. Very typical lyrics as well about how I think it's a girl that she's interested in and she has a boyfriend, and she is often in the car with this girl. They're cuddling, they've got their heads on each other's shoulders, and it's all about how she shouldn't be with that person, she should be with me instead. It's just so typical for this kind of stuff. She doesn't want to get married because the person that she likes has always said they want to have kids, but not have kids with him, because when you get married with him, you're just going to live an unhappy life. Like, yeah, sure, I guess we've all probably had that kind of experience where you just know someone should not be with someone else because they're just not suited together. But if this was just given a bit more of an oomph in the instrumental, a bit more of an oomph in the vocals, a bit more of an oomph in anything, I may be on board with it, but it is just incredibly dreary to listen to. First Time is at least better with the driving instrumental. The vocals have a bit more of an energy to this one, actually. I was definitely, again, a bit more impressed with what we were getting on this one. You know, once again, the drumming, I think, is quite propulsive. It's just got all the ingredients, you know, to make such a nice little melodic indie pop rock tune. Maybe, again, the vocals could have a bit more fire to them, but they're still more lively or livelier than most of the songs here. So I guess I'll take it. Then you just get like the typical guitar, soft, moving stuff with like VBS. Just really not on board with this either. You showed me the light and all it did was remind me of how the dark is just going to be darker, whatever she says. Can't tell if that's a great lyric or a bad lyric. I'm struggling to work out if that's great or very cliche. Again, just standard kind of like sad type stuff with just very little in the way of like standing out amongst any other singer-songwriter that you could come across. I am struggling to find qualities that make Lucy a unique artist, to be honest, which sounds harsh as hell. I do kind of feel bad for saying that, but man, thumbs, oh my god, just incredibly lifeless and dull to me. There's just not even like a charm to some of these tracks. You know, listen to someone like Dora Jar and listen to her voice. Yeah, sure, she does some slower songs, but there is a charm to her voice that I think is just so lovely to listen to. Basia Bular, you know, another singer-songwriter that again does the slow kind of tracks, not worlds apart from what Lucy does, but there's just such a character to the way she sings, and I think that's what you need to stand out. Adrian Lenker, Jesus Christ, Regina Spektor. I could go on all day, man. There are plenty of singers out there that would just bring more to their vocals and bring more to the songs. They could make a really bland instrumental exciting because of the way they bring out their vocals. That's just what you need. What we don't need is partner in crime, where for the first time in the album you hear something different in the voice, in the vocals, and yet it's just weird. It's like this weird electronic fusion of these processed robotic vocals that just make no sense. Even in context with the album, I just think this track just is so out of place, and I kind of wanted to commend it for doing something a bit different other than just a dreary, slow singing. But God, I can't do it. She sounds like this weird alien thing. Not flattering at all. Again, just not sure if this was the right choice. Brando is a slightly stronger melody. Again, there are a few flickers here and there that kind of make me go, oh, this track is a bit more melodic and interesting to listen to. It's got the whole standard lyrics again about, like, you know, admit that you were never actually really there for me, or admit that you never really liked me, or you never really loved me type stuff. She makes a couple of like very specific references in this one that I did like it felt more like, you know, it was just so much more personal to her, where she's talking about, you know, watching It's a Wonderful Life, although she actually says she's watching the person watch It's a Wonderful Life, which I guess is romantic in a sense, but just watch the film, bro. Just here and there, a few lyrics that I was a little bit more appreciative of. Again, very minor in the context of the album, though. Like, it's not something I think I'd really ever go back to. The closing track sums that up perfectly as well, because again, it's just a very slow-paced track that doesn't really have much momentum to it, but it just goes on longer than the other songs. So this track, again, for me was not appealing. I don't know, I think I probably should need to stop there. I've repeated myself a lot along this album. You get the point at this point. Just not really seeing the pizzazz, the Shazam, the blah 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 blah, like the magic just isn't there. I'm just not feeling it. And maybe one day, if I'm very, very sad, I could maybe get something out of this. But until that day, I'm just gonna put this one aside. Just not really for me. I'm gonna go 4.5 out of 10. Her home video just isn't for me. It's been a while since I actually did like quite a negative review as well. So yeah, I don't know, man. Home video is just as DIY as you'd expect from a home video. Take that for what you will. I don't know, man. Amongst her peers, I personally don't think she stands out that well, but I'm just one person. You can tell me in the comments what you think of this album. Please don't hate me. Please just be fair. This is no personal attack on anyone that likes the music or Lucy herself. I just don't really get a lot out of this, and that's all I can really say. So thank you for watching this review. Do subscribe if you have not already. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and goodbye.